while I'm in relationship, it was really because the 2 years of being single, I was doing this for me. Like
Yeah.
I moved out, I created my own space. This is part of
Mhm.
the self mastery.
Yeah.
I knew I was like, I need to be in only my energy right now. Like I need to heal. So I have to go and I have to make space for that. And I have to just
Yeah.
like fall in love with my life and fall in love with myself. Like, who am I? And
Mhm.
just like be all in. And anything that I desire, like from a partner, I'm going to do that. I'm going to look in the
Yeah.
mirror and I'm going to tell myself that I am beautiful and I am deserving and I am worthy and I am loved and I am accepted, and
Yeah.
all the things, and really doing that. And then finding myself, of course, in relationship with someone who is able to do that.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Thrive with Sharon podcast. I am Sharon Land. I am a licensed holistic psychotherapist, a mystic, and a spiritualist, as well as a best-selling author, The Healer's Journey. And I have created this podcast to be able to bring incredible human beings in front of you so that maybe one of their experiences or journeys or areas of expertise might help to inspire you to be a better version of yourself. And today, I have a wonderful new friend who we've known each other now for probably like 4 or 5 months. And I was introduced to this beautiful human being by our mutual friend, Jamie McFadden, who is another beautiful light in this world. I have Kat Shelton with me today. And Kat is she's an interesting human being because she comes off very, very subtle, but quite honestly, she is very powerful because she has started the journey and really has gotten to a wonderful space where she has learned her own level of self-mastery. And it hasn't come because she just decided one day that she wanted to. It came because she had to. And she is the director of experience for Heal and Flow Wellness, an event company. And she also is has just started something called the Beloved Woman Workshop, which I actually was able to come speak to. And they're such a wonderful, beautiful group of human beings. And after also recovering from her own health crisis and navigating grief of the loss of her younger brother, she discovered a passion for creating space for other people to be able to bloom physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. Kat, I can't wait to have this conversation with you. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Sharon. I'm so excited to be here. Really, I was nervous when you asked me to come on because this is a new part of my journey and really a growth edge to step into this, to sharing more publicly and openly, my experience and how it's all unfolded. So thank you.
Yeah, well, I was going to say proud, but proud would mean I had something to do with it. Like, I'm just really excited for you to be at this part in your journey. I really, really am. And I could see it happening for you, and which is why I asked you months ago. And I'm glad that, you're ready. You're ready to step in.
Yeah.
Um, why do you think, let's just go there. What was it that you think that was part of the readying process for you to be able to come out and be the voice and be in the spotlight a little bit more?
I would say I just had spent the last 2 or 3 years really pouring into myself and focusing there first. And I've seen this pattern in myself of where I have to really go inward and I disappear for like months at a time from the world, it feels like. And
Mhm.
then I can feel and I'm ready to emerge and to come out and to share and to be with people and to be in community. And it was kind of the same feeling, was just this knowing, this readiness of like, okay, it's time to start sharing all the things that you've been learning for yourself, um, and really wanting to, and seeing it all the conversations I ended up having were all the same with women who were really ready for change. Something had to give, struggling either with their physical health, their emotional or mental well-being, and just a lot of the things that I had experienced personally. And I didn't really have someone to guide me through that. It was more of, me diving into books, really like on YouTube, finding stories of people who had also, suffered with their health, had taken a hit, and understanding myself in this way to then be ready to say, okay, I really want to serve in this way. Like I'm feeling called. This is what I can feel my heart is like leaning into, and I'm being pulled into these spaces and into community to share and to talk about these things.
Mhm. Yeah. And, when you've gotten to that level of health, right, where you've had to recover from physical illness, or like you said, emotional, mental, or otherwise, dis-ease, you realize that it doesn't always come at a convenient time. But when you get that nudge or calling to pursue something, or that pull towards a direction, you have to honor it, right? It's not even a matter of ego of like, is this best for me? Or like, how is this gonna look on a highlight reel or whatever it is? It's just like, oof, when you're in that space within yourself, you realize that you really must honor it and follow the call.
Yeah. And, I had experiences where I didn't, where I ignored it. And I feel like that has kind of been the lesson for me so far is listening and honoring myself. And because when I don't do that, my body and my soul scream at me. And
Yeah.
that's when I start, really, it's like that's when the bottom comes. And so I do this thing now, like when I feel the nudges, I'm like, okay, I hear you. You do not have to put me face down. God,
Yeah.
universe, like I got it. I hear you. I'm moving. Like I'm going to take the steps. And so, even, thinking about that, it was a year and a half or almost 2 years now that I quit my full-time job. And that was a really scary, I had no plans, but I had found myself organically in this wellness space and in event coordinating for different event companies. And, I didn't really know how I got there. It was just like I became a yoga instructor and I went to these events because I loved it for myself, and then volunteered and then got handed events and was like, hey, can you run this? And it's like, sure, yeah, I can do that. And so it was like this beautiful door opening. And I remember I actually had this moment where I saw myself like crawling up to the ledge of this mountain and looking over and jumping back scared. And then I heard myself say, you're gonna have to jump. And I just stood
Wow.
up. I stood
Ooh,
up.
I
I
just
walked.
got the
Yeah,
chills.
yeah, it was so powerful, and I jumped. And that was like a month before I called my boss and quit, and was like, okay, I am surrendering and trusting. I have no idea how this is gonna pan out, but because of what I've seen in my life, I was like, if I don't do this, like life, God is going to move me, and it may be more drastic and where I can't ignore it, And I'm like, we're done with that. I'm
Yeah.
honoring and trusting. I'll take the steps. Thank you.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. And so even when it's like so viscerally scary, right? It's not even just like a little bit, it's your whole entire being really reacts and responds to that moment, like, ooh,
And
and
it made no sense. Well,
it
I mean, it
makes
made
no
sense,
sense.
but like outwardly,
Right.
and I
Right.
remember before I didn't tell anybody. Like I had this knowing, I was having these nudges of like, it's time to move. It's time to make a really big change. Like you're on this path, and like your highest timeline's over here. So you've got to do something, right?
Mhm.
And I remember so I didn't re-sign my lease. That was the first step. I was like, I'm not re-signing my lease because if I do, I'm gonna have all this fear of like, well, you have to stay in your job to build, So I didn't do that, and I didn't tell anyone. And then about a month later, I quit my full-time job. And then maybe like a month later, once I was really, really solid in myself of like, this is what I'm doing. Yes. Like no one can plant seeds of doubt here. No one can, their fear, their worry. I'm totally protected and shielded. Then I told my family. Then I told, I had this dinner. I had my sisters come. I had my mom come and was like, okay, so I have some updates for my life. And this is what but I think that's an important thing. Like I knew that about myself. I have to be really solid because, right, this isn't necessarily how other people live their lives. And so you're going to see that reaction of wide eyes and like, Kat's crazy. Like, what is she doing? She has no
Yeah.
plan. Like, how's she going to make money? All the logical
Right.
questions. And I'm like,
Right.
I've already had all that for myself. And I've already decided, like, I'm
Hmm.
trusting and I'm going to figure it out. I can handle it. I don't know what it is, but I can handle it. I know that.
That level of self-trust isn't easy to come by. So tell me about how you arrived there, because I know that one of the things that you, um, well, okay, so another thing, beloved body woman, right? So I know that that comes from you sharing about your own personal experiences and your own healing. So let's talk about that and how then that led you into that deep level of self-trust at that
Mhm.
moment when you were in that space.
Yeah, it's such a good point of like, how did I come to cultivate that? When I was 21 was when I was first diagnosed with an autoimmune condition, ulcerative colitis. And it's in my family. My dad has it. He was diagnosed when he was 28. And which makes sense because I'm so much like him, and I operate very similarly. And so the fact that we have that same physical manifestation was a light bulb. And so that was really the first veil that lifted for me, I would say, in my life of like, okay, I'm 21. I'm sitting in the doctor's office and they're telling me I have this condition and I'm going to have to be on pharmaceuticals, and immunosuppressant drug for the rest of my life. And it's just the way it is. And I remember this was like the first time I remember being really connected to my intuition and my inner knowing because something in me was like, no, that's not my reality. That doesn't
Mm-hmm.
have to be true. And no one around me had ever talked that way. Like my
Mm-hmm.
family was, like we took medicine, we did the things, ate, standard American diet. But I knew. And so, through that process, I started to question, I would just say, like, the typical Western medicine, standard American diet, and started to play around with my lifestyle. And so I shifted to more of a paleo lifestyle. And so it started with the physical body for me. That was really the first breakthrough into my healing. And I focused there for a long time. And was able to manage pretty well and find remission. And I did the dance with some pharmaceuticals for a while, and was in remission. And then at age 25, I lost my younger brother. He took his own life. And, it was really like when I think about my life, it's like split into two. It's like, there's Kat before David died and there's Kat after. Um, and, it just was really, it opened my eyes to start looking around at what the way I was living my life and how I was showing up. And I was just like, I remember looking around, everyone thinking, what are we even doing? What is anyone even doing? Why are we showing up and doing this dance every day? Like, no one looks happy. I'm not happy. I have this like inner tension and struggle going on, but I can't all the way. Like, I don't know what that is. Is this normal? This is just life, you know? And
Mm.
so for me, it was this time where I started to honor myself. And in the sense of, I started to play, I started diving into photography, which my photography business was Beloved and Unbound because David means beloved. And so that is a big part of
Oh,
why I'm
okay.
doing things. It's
Mm.
a way to honor my brother because he really, like, some of the stuff he left behind, some notes, it was like the answers are in the silence. I don't know if any of it matters, but I know that we're missing it. Like just like he was so smart and so introspective and so deep. He spent his whole life like being misunderstood and on this level that no one else was. And so, just reading through a lot of his poetry and stuff, it really just, I mean, it cracked me open, which is what I think life is supposed to do. Like we're supposed to allow it to just break us open so we can have these moments of growth and like, I don't know, I don't like this path that I'm on. What's next? And so I started to really listen to that and I started to experience myself in new ways. And I'd grown up saying, I'm not creative. I play sports. I'm athletic. That's what I do. And so I totally boxed myself in. I started to expand in a way and play. And I got into yoga and just this whole new side of myself, but also through that, I wasn't necessarily honoring the feelings and the emotions. So my healing had been really focused on the physical.
Yeah.
And with my brother's death, it really led me into there's so much more going on here, because I
Yes.
was in denial of the anger, of the grief, of
Right.
how the life I knew had died. I had died. My whole family had died when David died. Right. And that pissed me off, but I didn't want to say that. I didn't want to acknowledge, the uglier, right,
Yeah.
feeling, negative.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of my conditioning growing up was, if it's not positive, put it behind you. Emotions are
Right.
irrelevant.
Right.
Like it
Yep.
was
Well,
mission oriented.
that's the old athlete training, right?
Totally. And my
Yeah.
dad was in the Navy, and that's how he moves, like
Mm-hmm.
you move forward. And while there's a huge gift in that, like I
Mm-hmm.
also know that's why I'm able to show up how I am, and I'm very action oriented. There's a lot of suppressing and denying. And so I
Mm-hmm.
was in this space of living in the home still with my parents and watching them grieve separately and very differently.
Mm.
My mother is hard on her sleeve, like in the support groups and wanting to cry and talk about David. And my dad wants to be busy and move forward.
Mm-hmm.
And I was in this energy and being exposed to things and conversations that weren't for me and weren't mine, right? That's their relationship, but as their
Yeah.
daughter, and I'm one of 6 kids. And so like my family's just like really big and close. And now I'm all of a sudden I'm like worried about my parents' relationship and their marriage, and my family's already
Mm.
taken this hit in no way. So I took it upon myself, this savior mode, right? That I would be my mom's person. I would be my dad's person. I would hold the space. I would hold it together. I'm going to be the glue. I'm going to be the light.
The
And
fixer.
exactly. So through that, and not paying attention to myself, not allowing myself to have my own process and grief,
Mm-hmm.
but trying to just make sure everyone else is good. And about a year and a half after my brother died, I had this flare up of my condition, uh, and I wasn't telling anyone. I was silently suffering and was like, nope, I can do it. I can handle it on my own. I got it. Well, I didn't. And I just started to slowly wither away until it got so bad that I was having neurological stuff
Mm-hmm.
happen where I was like, I
Yeah.
think I might have MS.
Yeah.
And I was 100 pounds. And right now I'm 150 pounds. So I
Mm-hmm.
was tiny and I wasn't sleeping. I would lay in the bath every night from like 2 a.m. to 6 a.m. just praying for the morning. Like it was so bad.
Yeah.
And I stopped being able to go to work. And I remember one day I scooted down my parents' stairs because I had no energy to walk down because I hadn't been eating. I was super dehydrated. And I looked at my mom and I said, Mom, I think I'm dying. And that really like woke her up, because rightfully so, my parents were so in their own grief and I wasn't saying anything. So, and you can kind of hide it with your clothes. And it was like she finally like looked at me and really saw like, holy shit. So, we ended up going to the hospital, and I ended up in an isolation room for 3 weeks with different infections, and I got the flu while I was in there. And they want to put me on more medicine, and at this point I'm not about the medicine, but I'm also like, but I don't know how I'm getting out of this, and
Right.
being in there, it was a total bottom. It was another, like, it felt like those 2 years of my life with my brother and then my health, it was like a fire. I was like, what is my life? How did I get
Yeah.
here? And I just remember, like, I remember having the thought, like, it would be easier to die right now than
Mm.
to fight and to get out of here. But I knew, like, okay, I'm gonna get out of here, and I'm really gonna figure out how to heal, because there's so much going on here. Like, life basically flattened me and said, you have to take care of you. Like, you're trying to be everything for everyone, but there's nothing if you're not well.
Right.
And that was really like the message, which is why now I'm like, okay, I get it. I hear you. You don't have to do, like my body
Yeah.
starts to respond. I'm like, I'm listening. I got you,
Yeah.
and so it was like getting out of the hospital and in moving forward in this way of like, all right, I'm taking my healing seriously. And I have
Mm.
to lay down everyone else's stuff and just be like, worry about me, and that's
Yeah.
actually how I'm going to be able to shine and to show up well for my family and my loved ones, because that's
Mhm.
my heart. It's
Yeah.
like, you got to take care of. So that was really like the
Yeah.
start of this, of why I'm here.
Yeah. Gosh. So thank you for sharing all of those events and that entire journey, and like also the head talk that you were experiencing and the physical and emotional aspects of what you were experiencing, because I think that many of us can hear ourselves in that journey on some level, right? And so first I want to share with the audience the fact that um, this is just a very open, raw, vulnerable, transparent um, explanation of an experience. This is not condoning any one way or the other. And definitely, if you are in the space where you're feeling like you're having these thoughts, you can reach out to your local agencies that have help ready for you 24/7. And of course, you can always reach out to me and I'll help provide you with resources. Um, and I'm sure Kat will as well, right? I want to go back. I want to go back a little bit to your brother.
Mhm.
So, being in this space and working with the incredible individuals that I work with, um, I'm sure you've heard of like the 27 Club and, just a lot of people who have tragically lost their lives, right? And one of the things that really created the passion inside of me for doing what I do, the way that I do it to help people, is because I do think that, like your brother, and even myself, right? Like we're plunked down into this physical body, right? With all of these gifts. And it's hard. It's hard, right? It's a lot. It's overfacing. And especially when you have these probably neuro superpowers, right? Where you're able to see things and feel things, and you process things differently than the way that most societies disseminate the information. And um, people seek to be able to see most of their lives. And I always say, you're on your own divine journey to be able to see whatever it is that you're ready to see, because once you see it, you can't unsee it. And it is such a strong, powerful responsibility to be able to see the world in all of its darkness and light. And so the fact that your brother really could see that part of the world and has had intuitively been trying to follow his way to finding that peace um, makes a lot of sense to me, right? Um, so I'm not trying to romanticize it, and I'm also not trying to vilify it. I'm just trying to create some perspective and context around it, because we look at things like, well, the family was so great and loving, and da da da, and we're all here on our own soul's mission and journey, right? And so he chose, as a soul, he chose, his family, he chose this physical life, and he knew what he was meant to learn and to be and to see, and so did all of you,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
And so it takes such courage for you to be able to really just like share how this affected you. And the other thing that I wanted to reflect on is the fact that, so I work with a lot of mystery illnesses. So, like autoimmune, basically, what that means is that, like, our bodies are trying to become immune to the environment that we're surrounded by, right? So, so it shows up in ulcerative colitis or Crohn's or IBS or lupus or MS or fibromyalgia or thyroid issues or Hashimoto's, or it continues on, right? And so it's interesting that you know you shared that it was ulcerative colitis, or you experienced ulcerative colitis. And then like when it really flared, right? That now you're like teetering on like, wow, this feels more like MS, right? Like how we've kind of defined what MS is, right?
Right. Right.
And so not saying that you had it, but I'm just saying that, or because I don't believe we have anything, right? We're just
Right.
like experiencing these things. And
Yeah.
so I think it's interesting because I know our community is really going to support and welcome you in this. And so, because they're also going to resonate in this. I work with so many people who are showing up in such incredible ways, but also have these things that they kind of have to be mindful of managing, right? Not managing, but mindful of honoring, because the markers that exist in our bodies that maybe have come from this lifetime or a past lifetime or whatever are there designed to help to be like, hey, right? Like nurture yourself a little bit more. So the level and way that you have to nurture yourself isn't necessarily the level and way that somebody else would. Um, but I just think that's what I'm talking about when I introduce you and I said that level of self-mastery, right? To be where you are in that level of self-mastery. So can you just kind of like riff off of that a little bit? Like, can you kind of take that a little bit deeper?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I wanted to touch back to what you were saying about my brother and, the
Mm,
reflection there and, um, one of the things that I really had to come to terms with is, that what that experience was for our family as a whole, but also for me and to
mm,
really go back and, you were just on this week with the Beloved Woman workshop on inner child. And, even, we talk about inner child, but there's also like every version of us that we can go back to. And so I go
yeah,
back to that 25-year-old me, or because there was a lot of guilt and shame around who I was to my brother. I should have been better. I should have known, right? All the things that come up of, again, wanting to save and thinking that I really, could have done that, or just wanting to, I wish I was who I am now then. But it's like, seeing that it's all perfect, and it can be weird to say this, but I really do feel so much gratitude, and I feel thankful for my brother because
yes,
he really changed the trajectory of my life. Um, and that's really like how I like to live is, life will come for all of us in different ways. And it's the choice that we
yeah,
have to keep turning towards the light, to keep lifting
yeah,
our face towards the sun and saying, okay, what's here for me? Like, I know there's some gold here. Like, it sucks and it's so hard. And this is a fire in my life. It's a bottom. And because of how I want to live, I'm gonna grow and I'm gonna evolve and I'm gonna become, you know, softer and wiser and more compassionate from this experience. And so, yeah, just thank you for reflecting that. It's good.
yeah. And I
Mhm.
also want to discern the nuanced difference of growth because many of us have kind of had, our own phoenix,
Yeah.
right? The burning down of all that is. Um, and so, and that's again something that I'm so passionate about because many of us are, have incredible capacities to carry and hold a lot, right?
Mm,
Um, and when these things happen, many of us, because of the way that like the grid is set for us, right, in society, that like when these things happen, then we can, you know, grow. And many way that we define growth is to perform,
yeah.
right? To get the degree or to get the position or to get the bonus or to, you know, create or manufacture something outside of ourselves that gives us some sort of validation. And that to me can be part of growth because there is like your own personal edge that you can greet in that. However, I think that the growth, the nuanced version of growth is becoming more of you and being able to express more of you in the world, no matter where you're placed, right? And having that be enough.
Yeah. So good. Thank you. I needed to hear that. That's, no, it's good. Well, it's like when you say that, like pieces of the puzzle come together for me, right? Because there are still parts that I'm like, I don't really understand. I know I experienced this thing, all will be revealed, but like
Yeah.
you saying that, it's like, even with like, how did I get to this place of where I'm ready to share? And it was like, well, yeah, not rushing, but like honoring the journey, that there was a lot that had to go.
Yeah.
And, the death of my brother and then the health crisis were just these moments to open me up, to take a deeper look and to remember more, because I had gotten to this place and I'd become this person that was really boxed in and was totally about performance and the outward appearance and I had been very straight and narrow my whole life. I played sports growing up, and I knew by the time I was 10 that I was going to go play softball in college. I was going to get the scholarship. My dad coached me from the time I was 8 to 18, and it was like the vision and the thing. And while I played
Yeah.
all the other sports, it was not really much choice, it felt like, whether
Yeah.
there was or not. The little me was like, all right, I'm going to get the scholarship and I'm going to go play D1 and I'm going to, get the degree and I'm going to get married and I'm going to have the kids. That's
Yep.
what my life is going to be. And that's
Yep.
going to be like the thumbs up and the approval, and everyone's going to say like, she did it.
Yeah.
And so these experiences just cracked me open to say like, well, who are you? What do you want?
Yeah.
What do you want for your life?
Yeah.
And you're in a position that you get to choose now. So what do
Yeah.
you choose? And I was like, oh, I get to choose. Okay. And so when I say I started to play, I really did, like, created the photography company and dove all into that. And then I had a juicing company for a little bit where I was juicing out of my home and like giving it to my yoga community. And I, did the yoga certification and found, so much healing in that, and being in a group of women. It was 30 women, and while we're getting our certification for yoga, I got exposed to so many great texts that for me, like, books can just really change my life.
Yes. Yeah.
And so I see like it's all this perfect unfolding of me taking off the boxes, all the unlearning, and being like, oh, here you are, like growing up, I was so silly and playful. And somewhere along the way, I lost that and I became really poised and just steady, never high, never low. Like, people in my life would be like, are you excited? Like, like, yeah, it's great. Like, no emotion, because it was just like, it was part of the training of just like, act like you've been there before through sports and, like, on to the next. So no real like joy or celebration for myself.
Yeah.
And so, it was just like this self-mastery piece of experiencing myself, like putting myself in these new places and spaces to have new experiences and be like, does this feel good? Yeah, let's go this way, and to start to discover what I want for me in my life, and who I am. And you said something on the call about like how we have these different aspects of ourselves.
Yeah.
Like, you really, like, you said like, oh yeah, you think I'm one way, like, meet my other 27 personalities.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's so good and true. And I'm reading this book right now called Women Who Run with Wolves. And
yes, I haven't read that yet, but I've heard of it. I'm writing this down, actually.
Yeah, write it down. It's so good because it's all about like recognizing the wild woman in us and all these different parts of our psyche, and how like what happens is we just deny and forget and suppress like all these parts of ourselves to be one way, to be deemed acceptable, and this reclaiming of every part of you. And I'm just like totally here for it, and so, and it's been cool because and I'm in relationship right now. I'm in partnership again, and I'm really seeing like I'm so free in it, which is amazing.
It's beautiful to be a witness. It is beautiful to be a witness.
Thank you. And we're just so fun and playful, and to have someone who also is like in their wildness and in reclaiming, and so they're here for all of it, and they're looking at you like, I don't want just like the smile and the polish, I want all of you. And it's like,
okay. That just got a lump.
Yeah, you felt it.
Yeah.
Well, and I really think, like, I want to say this has been like, while I'm in relationship, it was really because the 2 years of being single, I was doing this for me. Like, I moved out, I created my own space. This is part of the self-mastery. I knew, I was like, I need to be in only my energy for right now. Like, I need to heal. So I have to go and I have to make space for that. And I have to just like fall in love with my life and fall in love with myself. Like, who am I? And just like be all in, and anything that I desire, like from a partner, I'm going to do that. I'm going to look in the
Yeah.
mirror and I'm going to tell myself that I am beautiful and I am deserving and I am worthy and I am loved and I am accepted, and
Yeah.
all the things, and really doing that. And then finding myself, of course, in relationship with someone who is able to do that,
I
you know?
know, which is like next level and interesting because, because we've connected prior to this, right? So it's interesting also to hear the dance of how that started, right? Where you were just like, nope, right?
Oh, yeah, yeah. In the beginning, the resistance. Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
you were so accustomed to like, I can be okay by me being in control of all the knobs, right?
Yeah. Oh
And
my God. Yeah.
all of the things. And then realizing though that the masterclass version of all of this, the reason why you were getting to that level was so that you could be with, share with, receive from, be part of, right? So, because we're literally biophysically wired to be connected, right?
Yeah.
And it
Yeah.
doesn't necessarily have to be an intimate partner, but just in general, right? But intimacy is mostly found, that deep level of intimacy is mostly found in your intimate partner relationships. And so, um, you're so right that what a gift that because you were able to give that to yourself, you could recognize it when someone else was giving it to you and you could really be open to receive it and participate in it. Because many times I gave this example in the session that I was just doing before we started recording. And so many people are focused on the goal, right? They're focused on the finish line. And I said, it's kind of like Mr. Magoo, right? I don't know if you ever saw this show, Mr. Magoo, right? And so Mr. Magoo is like, I have to go to the store and get eggs. So he gets in the car and like he can barely see anything. He just knows he's supposed to get to the store to get the eggs. And he's like running chickens over on the side of the road. People are having to like screech at stop signs because he's just not stopping. He's like off the road. Now he's on a roller coaster, right? He's like on the loop-de-loo and he's doing all this stuff. And like, there are all these people who are just like up in arms and whatever. And he's completely oblivious of life that's happening as he's on his way to go get the eggs at the store, right? And he arrives at the store and he's like, huh. And he closes the door falls off, right? Because he just like totally jacked up his car, right? And I mean, life does get lifing, and sometimes this does happen, right? We get a couple bumps and bruises. We all have markers of the way that we've experienced life. Yet at the same time, when we're so focused on like, I just need a partner, right? Or I just needed this, or I just needed that, or I just need to make that sale, or I just need to get that win for my business, or I just need to, whatever it is, right? I always like inside joke with people. I'm like, I need a, right? Like everybody's like, I need a, right? And it's like, no, what you need is to be okay in all of the nuances of the moments of your life on your
Mm.
journey, because it's the journey, right? It doesn't matter what my titles are. It doesn't matter what your titles are. It matters who you are. That's how we connected, right? We connected at this very just kind of like space of like the energetic frequency of who we are, the resonance of that, as opposed to, so who are you? What's your name? Okay, what do you
Yeah.
do? Right? Who do you know? Right? It's just, no, it doesn't matter.
It was the feeling for sure with you of just like, oh, this woman sees me and she like we understand each other. We don't know each other quite yet, but we understand each other.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you said the word masterclass for relationship, and you're so right, because it's like, oh yeah, like 2 years of singleness and doing all the things, and it's like, but get on the field and really, because you're like, I'm so great. Like I don't have any shit. Like I've looked at all of it, and then you get in the master class, you really get with people in relationship and
Yeah.
in community, you come out, right? That's me. Like I'm very like to myself and like, okay, now I'm ready to emerge and here I go. And then, yeah, being confronted with all sorts of things.
Right, exactly. And usually yourself, and you're
Yeah,
just
of
like, oh
course.
my God, did I just say that? Oh, that was the most ugly thing. I can't believe I just said that. I sounded like so and so, or I just like whatever. It's so ugly. And then walk in front of the mirror and say, I love you. You're beautiful. I think you're incredible. I'm holding space for you. Right. That's on the field.
Totally,
That's
totally.
on the field.
and like being able to sit in front of another human and say, like, for me, it's my humanness. It's the hard part for me to accept and acknowledge,
Yeah.
like that I get mad when I feel mad. I feel annoyed if I'm annoyed. Like I should just be above it or
Right.
something.
Yeah.
And so I'm in partnership with someone who is very emotionally mature and
Yeah.
capable and is great at talking about his feelings. And
Yeah.
so I'm kind of like the kid when it comes to that in the relationship. I'll be like, I'm like moving around the house, kind of, passive aggressive, probably like quiet in my head, doing all the thinking. And it's like, hey, babe, are you annoyed? Yeah, I'm annoyed, and like can't even look at him or say it. And he's like, hey, it's okay to be annoyed. And I'm like, oh, like it like hits like because it's just,
Yeah.
there's like, oh, I didn't really feel like I had space, I guess, to feel any of these feelings. And so this is me in relationship,
Hmm.
feeling the feelings, acknowledging it, communicating it, and seeing that it doesn't have to be like this. It's not a bad thing. Like
Hmm.
this is what life is. Like you are meant to feel all the range of emotions, and allow it to move through you,
Yeah.
like this holding on, this storing, this denying and suppressing. You've seen this. This will put you on your
Yep.
deathbed. We're
Hmm.
not doing that anymore. And so
Hmm.
it's been this beautiful and perfect unfolding of, okay, yes, you went and you did the work and you have a really solid foundation.
Hmm.
You got to go live.
That's right. Yeah. Well, and that's the thing is that the healing is in the living,
Yes.
right? And many people differentiate healing with, healing means you're stopping your life, you're focusing on something, right? But to heal means to change, and to change creates energy, and energy flowing is life, right? So we get to heal by living life and being our energetic selves to our fullest wattage and capacity, right? So I think that we're dying if we allow ourselves to stay focused on one particular thing, like you said, getting attached to any particular whatever it is, right? And um, that immediately short circuits life,
Yeah,
right?
we can totally get in our own way, and with it's
Mhm.
and there's like real self-limiting beliefs because I'll say, what still comes up for me is um, because of the experiences and because my body is very sensitive and tuned in to if something is off, whether
Yes.
it's internally in my environment, like there's something, my body tells me instantly. And so there's this real, and I've been feeling it recently because I just telling you before we hopped on, like there's a lot of unknowns. We're transitioning and moves and so here's my body like freaking out a little bit like,
Yeah.
hey, what's going on, are you okay? Like it doesn't feel like, right, maybe there's something you need to express or say or take a look at, is kind of how
Yeah.
I let the message come to me, like,
Yeah.
okay, there's something I need to acknowledge.
Yeah.
Oh, I am stressed out actually. Well, I am excited. I'm also really nervous and scared, and I'm feeling a lot of fear, and
Yeah.
just saying it, it's like automatically lighter, right? And then I get into, okay, well, what keeps me really grounded and centered? And it's like, okay, well, we know that like, waking up and doing the physical things like drinking plenty of water and having your fresh juices and eating tons of, fruits and veggies and really great meat and organ meats and, taking any of your supplements specifically for, your gut and whatever it is. It's like, there's the physical things. Okay. Are you doing all of those? Yes.
Hmm.
Great. And are you moving? Are you sweating? That that's a great way for you to release. Are you doing the yoga? Are you going to the gym? Whatever it is, but like sweat and move today because you're a better human when you do that, and then
Hmm.
where are you at emotionally? Right. Because those are the last ones I look at. I'm like, okay, what can I do physically to change this? But
Right.
it
Yeah.
always honestly comes back to like, where are you at emotionally?
Yeah.
Where are you in your, your spiritual practice and your devotion? Where have I maybe wandered or gotten away from the things that really
Hmm.
keep me centered,
Yeah.
or like
Yeah.
experience life, but it's really for me, I'm always like, how quickly can I come back?
Hmm.
Like, okay, I'm good. And it comes back to that self-trust of like, listen, yes, there's a lot of unknown and you can handle it.
Yeah.
You've seen this over and over again in your life. It will and can always be okay. You're going to handle it,
Yep.
and you don't have to do it alone. That's a big thing too,
And right. And it's not about partnership, but it's about the fact that like you've really we have a wonderful community, right? And so everyone, the more that you show up, the more that people actually appreciate the fact that you show up that way and say, hey, listen, having a little hard time right now, working through some karma. Like for me, we were just talking before we recorded, right? I was just like, yeah, I totally understand where you're coming from with that, because like I had my own version of that in this way. And so we're here to really master this human experience that we're having right now, right? And create some beautiful harmony and coherence and dance in it all. Because really, how much do we really need anyhow, right? What do we really need?
Right, right. No, today in the Beloved Woman workshop, we have this community platform where we chat throughout the week.
Mm,
And like I sent just a prayer today, and the prayer was for all the provision, for the breath in my lungs, for the clean water, for the roof over my head, for the food in my fridge. It's like, I'm blessed. Thank you, God. Thank you for another day. And
yeah.
really, when you feel that, like,
Hmm.
yeah, like the rest is all this mind noise. It's like, okay,
Yeah.
I'm good. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. And even
Yeah.
when it's bad, it's still good.
Yeah.
Still
Yeah.
good, right? Oh, this has been, I feel like we need to do part two to this because there's just
Yeah.
more we could dive into. So I hope you do come back again. This has been so wonderful. And welcome to the community now, the Thrive community. And how can people get in touch with you? Because I'm sure they're going to want to. Oh, in the Beloved Woman workshop that you just
Yeah.
did, you're doing that. I know it's a
It's an
8
8-week
week,
program, but I'm
right?
gonna run, yeah. So I'll run it a few different times.
Yeah,
I think the next time will probably be in January, start of the new year.
love
Short,
that.
give people the holidays, and then really start the year with a bang of just that self mastery, finding a space to self study and to get to know yourself. Is
Yeah.
really my desire for it.
Mhm.
You can find me at Beloved Body on Instagram, and also Heal and Flow by Eben Britton, which is my partner, and it's the wellness event that we put on together.
Yeah, I know. I can't wait to get to
You
one
got
of
to
those.
come. Yeah,
I
yeah. Would love for you to be there and to
uh,
experience.
oh, can't wait. Yeah, we all need to be poured into. We all
Yeah.
need to be poured into. So, thank you once again. And thank you everyone for tuning in to our show today. I hope you just felt the heart opening as I did in this conversation. And Kat literally is such a beautiful light in this world, and the things that she's doing and in such a humble way are so impactful and empowering. And so please continue to listen to us. And if you haven't, if you're just finding us today, please make sure that you subscribe to the podcast on your favorite method of listening or watching. And also send us messages. We love to hear what your feedback is. Any questions, Kat or I would be happy to respond to you. So until the next time, peace and love, and continue to be on your own journey of self-mastery.
Thanks, Sharon.
Thank you.